Okay. Hi. I really don't think words can express this. We just sat through the last latest episodes of Chronicles, and the experience has been draining, to say the least.
Oh, I forgot. We have names. Hello, I'm Tumblr user AngelRed89.
And I'm Coman229. And we're going to talk about Xiaolin Chronicles.
And why
we hate it
so much.
Okay.
Our last video, we talked about how we were going to play a fun little drinking game, even though we don't drink alcohol. But we did a thing with water.
We exhausted like a dozen water bottles over the course of this?
Over the course of 17 episodes. And we literally, because we had this tally mark, because we had
tally marks for
all
the different
sections of things, like out of character, or contradicting, or
gross toilet humor,
or fanficky, or other really dumb things, or when we're really confused and just like, why is the story ever gonna? No, it's not gonna spit. So we did tallies for all these different mini things that we had different sections that we tallied.
And you want to guess how much?
And our total for tallying all this stuff, and now granted they're all different sections, but we had a whole huge tally list, so every time we took a shot, any of these stupid things happened. Our total, all those tallies of all these dumb moments that we categorized,
was 458 over 17 episodes.
458 times they kept repeating the same stupid, bad writing things, confusing choices over and over and over again.
Okay, I mean, we really need to hurry this up because I mean, we just need we have a plan of how we're going to talk about this
time.
All right. Okay. So, okay. Let's start off with the plot or the lack thereof.
Now, some people were just like, stop comparing it to Showdown. It's not trying to be Showdown. Blah 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 blah. It's a different show. Okay.
No.
Now, let's operate under that assumption.
The assumption without Xiaolin Showdown to look at.
Completely. Disregard it. What's the point?
There is no point.
What's the plot? What's the point? What is Chase's big grand scheme of things?
Because Chase is built up as the main bad guy, but he
What's the point of Vuya? Why is she even here?
So sometimes she sends to Shango's and sometimes she doesn't. Like, there's this one episode where she's just walking around, she doesn't send Shango moves even though Dojo is, and you're just like...
But what is the point of any of it? Is Wuya supposed to be the main big bad, or is it Chase? Yes, season 3 shared a bunch of villains, but it was still kind of working up to something. And
it was working up to the time after time.
And still, Hannibal was kind of technically the main villain because even Chase was working against him. So it was...
Yeah.
I know I said let's disregard Xiaolin Showdown, but my point is, it needs to make sense. Even the mess that season 3 is.
But it's like, with Xiaolin Chronicles...
It was still building up to a finale.
Yeah,
what is this building up to?
Nothing. It's like, I mean, we have like mini plots. Like there's one time when Chase attacks the temple and raids all the Shangang Wu for some reason.
Even though he doesn't care about Shangang Wu?
And he constantly, he talks several times, so I don't trust these thingy-mabobs.
The doohickeys.
The doohickeys. Yeah, he's constantly going into Xiaolin Showdowns. Constantly. Going after them just as much as Wuya did.
The pacing is all over the place.
And it was like, you have a bunch of stuff happening, and then all something else happens, and something else happens. It's like, it's more ADD than Attack on Titan.
Well, at least that is obviously working up to something.
Yeah, at least that has plot lines. I mean, this just has a bunch of stuff happening, and then it's just stuff introduced in one episode, and then it's gone by the end of it. And
Constantly. They constantly keep introducing random Shangang Wu right off the bat.
And we don't even know if they are Shangang Wu half the time. And they're just stuff.
And then there's also the constant of, I think twice Jack lost the monkey spear, stupid name,
and then pulled it out
in a showdown. And somehow he keeps getting it back. How? And then Clay lost in a showdown to Jack. So he lost the Fist of the Iron Bear or whatever they called it.
Supposed to be the Fist of Tebigon.
But in another episode, he has it again.
I mean, I know it was kind of his signature weapon.
But there's no rhyme or reason. It feels like there's no stake in anything. You just lose it, you automatically get it back. And the showdowns, there is no cohesiveness in it.
No.
Apparently, you can wager something, but you're still going to get it back. Apparently, Chase can wager his good looks, but nothing happened.
And in the latest episode, Chase...
that was so confusing.
Yeah, Chase, Shadow, and Dojo and what's his
Rocco
go into a 4-way showdown, which isn't that called something specifically?
I guess.
I mean, I know in 3 of them it's a showdown trio. There were no rules
over so much.
And and they do showdowns. They don't declare anything. It's like we go in showdowns. It's like I have this and Gongi Tenpai.
And apparently there are no spectators or something like that.
No,
I think when Clay fell out, I think it was Clay. I can't even remember which one, but it was just like, Clay, you lost?
Yeah.
So you guys did not see any of that at all. Like, why?
It's like, and in Showdown, every single Xiaolin Showdown had
cooler outfits that they also the normal.
Yeah, they have these weird Tron outfits in Chronicles. They have those
why?
Yeah, it's like, but in Showdown, when you had a Xiaolin Showdown, you say, all right.
Because these are ancient Chinese things. This has this whole built up on the Chinese culture and martial arts. But
but basically,
what is with the Tron outfits?
I don't know. Bill, they had one Shengang Wu that literally ate Data.
Yeah.
What the hell was Dashi on? He's like, hey guys, I got this great idea.
Well, no, and it was even Dashi.
Oh yeah, we see Dashi in one of the episodes randomly.
Why was he...
He was a dick.
Why was he mean? Dashi was a hippie.
Yeah, he called Monk Guano.
Which, I guess that's his name now?
Which is just another insult. It's like... he should have looked around and he's like, you talking to me, Bobo?
What is going on?
And go back to the Xiaolin Showdowns. In Xiaolin Showdown, every single showdown had a wager and had rules set. You issue a challenge. All right, we're...
How many times? I think there was literally only, off the top of my head, 3 times in 17 episodes when the showdowns had nothing to do with race to the top to get it.
Oh yeah, all of them are the same. But it's like...
2 of them were race to a finish.
Yes. And it's like, what was Xiaolin Showdown? You say, all right, we have this thing. I challenge you to... a
pinball thing.
I challenge you to a pinball thing. I wager the Eye of Dashi, and then they'll say, oh, I wager the monkey staff.
Or it was like...
There were rules. And in Chronicles, there are none. They're just, they do it and then they start a showdown and then it's always the same.
Or whoever falls to the first loses, not whoever reaches the Shengang Wu.
Yeah.
Or just whatever, they set up these things.
Yeah.
They constantly would set up things and explain things. Oh, some of the Shengang Wu, it doesn't ever, it just gives powers without rhyme or reason.
Oh yeah,
with the mirror.
Okay. They're the thing with the Shengang Wu is they all have different names, which we can accept that because of the whole copyright issue.
I can understand, and I can even understand changing it and giving it new powers, but it doesn't explain itself much.
Yeah, it's like,
it just introduces it and it expects you to accept it.
It's like when you have these new Shengang Wu and they're changing it, like the Shroud of Shadows is now the Shroud of Monster camo, and it has both the effects of the Shroud of Shadows and the Golden Tiger Claws and allowing you to teleport.
It doesn't tell you that. It just does it.
And they act like everyone knows what this is doing. It's
or then the reversing mirror, whatever it's called. Apparently, there is literally a line that William makes a big deal with that whole thing with Good Jack, where it just it reverses your nature. So apparently, it's the yin yang world stuff. But
it does it to Jack.
But then in the showdown, Jack uses it the exact same way you would use the normal reversing mirror.
And honestly, it seems more powerful. It was literally just changing.
It's does it reverse a person's nature, or does it literally can it reverse anything? Is it the real reverso also too? What? Explain. And where did it come from? It was just Raimundo just randomly has it and then drops it.
And then he goes, Omi gets frozen at these snowballs, and he's like, okay, I guess I'll unfreeze you. And then,
how? Why would that work?
It's supposed to change your nature,
and somehow it would do it. It's not consistent. Nothing in this series is consistent. I am so sorry that we sound so angry constantly, but I just am so confused. I don't get what's going on here.
If you can see this, we have 3 sections on this page. One is anytime a character says something that's out of character from their established character, anytime something contradicts the continuity of Xiaolin Showdown, which was like, what, 70 times or something?
Okay, it's a new show, fine, but we have something else for you.
Anytime the show contradicts its own continuity, which was 62 times in
17 episodes, it contradicted itself.
It was
even over the littlest things, it contradicted itself.
And it's like,
like there was a line where I even remember in like the second or third episode where he's just like, I'm not gonna blink, you blink first, or they have the stare down. And Omi says that,
Omi was talking to Willow, who ended up being Shadow.
It was like right after he says that, he blinks.
Yeah, it's like, we challenge you to a blinking contest.
And he's like, it's like supposed to be some big stare down, like whatever.
And then he jumps off and goes off somewhere.
Like my point is, people are like, why are you angry about? My point is, it even contradicts itself on the littlest, dumbest things. It's like it can't even get the littlest details right.
And don't even talk to me about what it did to the characters.
Oh dear, we'll get into that. There's so much that we need to get into, but oh my gosh.
And one of the things that we talked about constantly is that this show doesn't know what it wants to be. Does it want to be a complete reboot? Because it takes certain things...
Because it's obviously intended to be a reboot. That's obviously its intention. Just like how the Ninja Turtles cartoons, there's like a new one, and there's a new continuity.
But this is acting like it's taking place later, like after a time skip. They're Shoku warriors.
It will make hints to the original series, as if the original series did take place within its canon. But it's a reboot, so it's constantly contradicting itself.
Well, there's one. The only time I can remember thinking it was trying to make a specific reference was when Dojo was talking. I don't remember who he was talking to, but he mentioned this. Oh no, he was with that weird dragon thing that was with Kimiko's sister, and yet we'll get to that.
The dinosaur, whatever.
Yeah, and he was like, he had magical healing snot or something, and he was like,
just randomly out of nowhere, and then they never addressed it.
He made a reference to the healing lotion that Vlad gave them in an episode where they went to Russia in Xiaolin Showdown. And when I heard that, I'm like, wait, we paused it, and we're like, was that referencing that one episode in Xiaolin Showdown? I mean, that was a very specific reference.
It was very specific, but it's just like, well, so what? Reboot some... reference other series all the time, like I even mentioned with the Ninja Turtles, the new Ninja Turtle cartoon. They're constantly referencing past, but that's meant to be a shadow. It's not meant to say that's part of happened. This is like part of some past thing. Which like the only time you could say that is like when the Turtles Forever movie, where they do. Like but they're separate universes. They're not the same thing. They're not within each other's.
They have the 2003 and the 1980 something show.
And they're not like they're their own canons.
Yeah,
they're complete own continuities.
Chronicles is just
is all over the place.
And it's like...
we even made a thing, like, if somebody was painting Xiaolin Showdown, you could see a particular picture. You could see where they were trying to go. Even
if it was messy sometimes, you could still see a picture.
You could see where they're still kind of trying to go with it. Like, you could see where the end result was going to be, even with the mess that season 3 was. It was like... But this is like if somebody just took a bunch of paint and then just threw it on something, hoping it would stick, and maybe you'll get a masterpiece.
So you have a couple pretty colors, and it's just but it's blotches all over the place.
It's not consistent. There's nothing about it's consistent. The characters aren't consistent. The plot points aren't consistent. The Shingon Wu aren't consistent.
Yeah, and
the Shingon Wu are not consistent.
And it's like
literally like
along with
the golden tiger claws, which I guess are like now cheetah claws. So apparently it's now the sands of time, and for some reason you come back and you have no.
Okay, yeah. So the first time they were introduced, Omi uses it,
and he specifically uses it to time travel.
Yeah, he goes back in time and ends up talking to Dashi.
That's how it was introduced.
And he didn't know. Apparently, he didn't know Dashi, but he did know Dashi. It's like he knew him.
Well, yeah, but in Showdown it was the same thing. He knew of Dashi, but didn't personally know him.
Yeah, he saw the way he was acting. He's like, "You are a disgrace. Master Dashi is nothing like." And then he's like, "Yo, I'm Dashi."
Like,
but in this, he sounded like Samuel L. Jackson or something. I expected him to say
that was weird.
And he was just a jerk. He was just a jerk to.
But it was like the point is. Omi, like the Shingon Wu specifically was, you can go back in time.
And sometimes you lose clothes for some reason.
That was stupid. But in their most recent episode, apparently Dojo and Rocco use it to see memories of their past. Not use it to maybe go back in time and say, warn Fung of Chase's whole whatever the heck that plan was. no, it's just to see our past memories and hey, let's be friends and we'll break into this vault and then the whole thing with the yin yang world with the chi that was so confusing.
So they basically they use the mirror to track when in the whole episode.
That's the whole reversing your chi.
Yeah, reversing your chi. He basically looks in the mirror and says whatever the hell they call it, and he basically switches it. And
the whole yin yang world plot point, you go in with only one. That's out of the window.
Yeah.
That's
it's like so basically they had the YY yo-yos that lead you to the Shengo world.
And you could go in and out. Nothing's wrong with your chi.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that there's a chi creature.
The chi monster is a giant tornado thingy.
But then it turns into some
little
really retarded look. Okay, that's not a good word. I'm sorry. I have.
It's stupid. It's like simple. It's like a blob.
Okay.
It's like a little
dumb. It's a very dumb looking. Not cut out to be a good eight cut rate small time villain in a Mega Man game. And I mean the old ones. It doesn't even look good enough to be those old stupid 8-bit looking things. And I'm sorry I used that other word because that is not a good word to use.
Yeah. But it's like he basically has two yin yang yo-yos, but it's like they call him the he just pulls out the YY yo-yos.
Where did he get them from?
Yeah.
Why does he have them? How long did he have them?
Yeah,
how long was he waiting to use this plan that actually could have been a brilliant plan to send your enemies away, trapped in some other dimension where you never see them again, like he did with Hannibal Bean?
And it's like he had some apparent plot to get Dojo jealous or something, and have them go to this place, which is like the throne room from the future episode.
Like why? It was so confusing. I cannot keep track of how many times we sat there going, huh?
Well, actually, we did keep track of how many times.
Well, yeah, we did, but I literally remember one time. Wasn't it just recently?
This section was all the times we got confused.
Wasn't it literally just not one of the episodes when they did something and you and I both at the same time went, what?
Yes! And I don't remember specifically what it was, but we're just looking at that going, huh?
At the same time, we're just, what?
It's this doesn't even follow any rhyme or reason.
It is so... I know you're probably like, where's the train of thought in this vlog going? I don't know. There's no train of thought in this thing.
We're trying to
organize this. It's really hard to do. There's no organization here.
Okay, let's talk about the times confused. This show...
It is so
fanficky.
So fanficky.
She's a fanfic writer.
I would know because I would try to hunt down some good fanfics, and you see some of the dumbest fanfics on the planet, and I just oh my gosh, this is right out of a fanfic. So many stupid things are right out of fanfic. We'll get into it later, but Chase's entire characterization is right out of something completely contrary to how he actually is, out of some dumb fanfic. We mentioned
it, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Oh, we will.
And all the new characters are fanficky.
They're so fanficky.
Ping Pong?
I will make one thing clear right now. I do not hate Ping Pong.
Ping Pong could be a good character.
I do not hate Ping Pong at all. Yes, he's some perfect little Gary Stu whenever he is a focus, and when he's not a focus, there's no point to him. He's just this boring thing.
Who can do all the elements.
But he's so fanficky.
He looks exactly like Omi.
He's what?
He can use all the elements.
Apparently, their whole explanation was it was some chi overload. How?
But he got a chi overload in the after that. Very specifically, a Shadow used a Shengon to overload his chi.
Apparently,
he was using all the elements
before that. How? Why? Why can he do that? Why hasn't he once used his wood element?
Yeah,
do something.
He did that once with Barkley.
But that was it. And it's I would like to see more with it.
Yeah. I wanted to see how they incorporated the wood element, and they didn't.
It's just how? Why? And don't even get me started about Shadow. I hate Shadow.
She is such a... And
she is... Okay. She is freaky, and not in the fun or entertaining way. I'm a big fan of Legend of Zelda. There's this villain in Skyward Sword who is without a doubt freaky.
Gira him.
He is a freak.
He's
entertaining for some reason because he's a freak, and he actually scares me because he's a freak. But the scare's you want to be scared because he's a villain. You know he's intimidating.
It's like when you're watching the second season of Magic Knight Rayearth, and even though I don't like that season, Nova.
Oh, it's just so creepy.
Nova's freaky. She goes up to Hikaru. She's like, "You want to play Hikaru? I'm gonna murder you."
Or like Toy Man. Like,
oh yeah,
Superman. They're creepy, but they're supposed to creep me out.
They're creepy in the right way. That
in the right way, not this way.
She
gives me the wrong kind of heebie-jeebies. Now you're probably like, how is there a right and a wrong heebie-jeebie? I mean, like, people can, like, these characters, they can creep me out, but I don't hate them. I look at them and I'm like, wow, that's a really good creepy villain. They creep me out. That was awesome. Like, you know, like, there's a difference between a good horror film and a bad one. Like, where you watch one, like, oh, wow, that was really good. That one, like, scared me. That was awesome. Those effects, blah, 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 blah. And then there's those bad ones. So this is the exact same thing. She is not the good kind.
She makes everything she's in uncomfortable.
And it's just, oh, my gosh.
She is so... All right, let me explain to you.
I think I want to take a bath in acid every time I see her say this stupid...
So, all right, let me explain to you her origins. Chase gets hopped up on... He apparently needs the Lao Lo Ming soup to transform instantly or something.
He just keeps right off the bat randomly. Like that one episode.
Yeah, he basically downs Lao Lo Ming soup, turns into his dragon form, rips a rib out of him, and then goes whoop, boop, shadows
out of nowhere, just creates her. Why? What's his reason for creating her? Explain. Give me more details.
And so she's technically his daughter. She's technically like a very Eve, like how Eve was created.
Okay, now for those of you who try to defend this whole thing, like, well, it's like the whole Adam and Eve thing. Okay, this is where this really falls flat, and obviously the writers either don't know a thing about Genesis, or they just don't care. You have...
This place is Chase.
I don't care if you're a Christian or not. That really doesn't matter at this point.
We're going for what the symbolism was trying to...
If you're trying to, if Avatar: The Last Airbender throws in so many, references to other cultures and religion, and it doesn't do it in a way that slaps you in the face. It's like, now... Or is so confusing it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, even stuff like Bleach has a lot of, like...
Oh, Bleach has a lot of that stuff, too. But anyway, so... Okay. In Genesis, I don't care. You don't have to believe this or not.
We're just going for basically what this was based off of.
I'm just recapping and letting... Because some of you might not even know. And that's perfectly cool. Not everybody's Christian. Let's explain this. Okay. So Genesis, you have God. He's like the father of all creation, right?
He creates Adam.
He creates like earth and all the things. He is the father of all creation.
Yes.
He creates Adam, and from Adam pulls the rib out and makes Eve. That's the thing. But God created Eve.
And God.
Father of all creation.
Including Adam.
He created these things. They are his creations. He is literally the father of all of it. That's the whole point. Now, in this scenario, you are making Chase both God and Adam. So, in this scenario, God is father. Adam is literally Eve's husband, her lover. So, you were making Chase both her father and her lover. Do you understand why so many people hate this shit? Because you can say it was supposed to be that sort of thing, symbolism, but it doesn't seem to understand why that symbolism happened, because they're still both
creations of God.
That's still both. It's still both him being a father and a lover, apparently. That is sick.
And there are a lot of moments where they'll go up and touch each other's face and a lot of
hissing.
Yeah, and the hissing, and they apparently hiss at each other to communicate.
And even Jack, thankfully, was just like ugh.
But then in a later episode, he was like, this is disgusting, but why do I like watching it?
Like, what? You were creeped out by it. Yeah. Why all of a sudden are you enjoying this?
And this isn't just limited to Chase. I mean, we had a section for Chase and Shadow, which 16 times.
Freaking are creepy.
But it's like, then,
she's just creepy in general.
There's one part where she was in a Xiaolin showdown with Kimiko over some random shit.
And she's just like...
And she's like, oh, this fighting is getting me all hot and bothered.
She's just like this freaky, horny thing.
And it's like... I've seen this scene, and it's always...
But she'll even say things like that to Omi. Omi, a little boy. And just like, stop saying things like, this gets me all frisky or hot and bothered. Like, ew.
Yes, she literally said frisky, that she was frisky and hot and bothered.
Like, she said frisky to Omi. I'm like, oh my gosh. Ew. Ew.
And she comes in, she's introduced as Willow, this new chick, and they...
Constantly, just, oh my, just her literal... point to her character is what? To be nothing more than either chase of shadow or sex appeal, this creepy, horny sex appeal thing.
And it's like, it's not even sexy, because I've seen, like, you know, you see there's some characters that are...
was sex appeal character.
Yeah.
But she did not...
As she describes it, vavoom.
But she's not... She wasn't constantly flirting with every single character in her
Chase.
form. Yeah, just Chase. but that wasn't creepy, though, because she's not some person in a teenage body, nor is she his daughter.
No, she wasn't actually doing anything physical. She would just, I mean, she would make some references, like, basically, of, like, oh, how good she looked or something. But it was more, like, in the vain sort of sense of, wow, I'm just so good
beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, in love with herself. Like,
yeah, and in this, it's just... creepy.
Just some creepy, horny thing.
And she pulls these powers out of absolutely nowhere. I mean, okay.
The shadow power makes it. Her name is Shadow. That was cool. That made sense.
If she had this ability to, like, meld into the shadows and reach out, that's cool. And that's actually scary.
And that would have made, like, oh, wow, that's a cool motif right there. Like,
but then her hair can control... She can control
why?
Her hair.
And why can't she... Why does she have these powers?
She can ignore gravity sometimes.
Or the random weapons that her and Chase have that she just pulls out of like her hair. Yeah. Like you could say like
she pulls the blade. She calls it the blade of the crescent moon. We don't know if this is a Shengang Wu.
It's obviously not.
It's obviously not because we can't lower ourselves to those.
But it's just like, where did these come from? Where?
Nowhere. And it's like, there's
like even at least the Spear of Guan had some basis in it because it was a weapon that Guan personally created. Whether it's just some throwaway line, give me at least a throwaway line. Sometimes when they do throwaway lines, though, it means nothing.
Staff of Ku out of nowhere.
Literally, he literally summons it to him.
And it's like, and that's another thing when they go into showdowns. It's like half the time Chase literally summons something to him, like, "Oh, I wager this, by the way."
But okay, yeah. I don't care about Shengang Wus, but
I'm going to constantly chase after them and go into showdowns
with them. But just like, I don't care about them. What was the whole point then stealing all those Shengang Wu in like the 3rd episode then?
Yeah. Like, and then he kept them all in a vault that we see in the latest episode.
What? Why? You can't have him say, you can't keep that old characteristic of him saying, I only care about this.
And it's like, and honestly, and this is something I've said multiple times.
Oh,
if they really...
Battery.
Oh, well. If they really cared about wanting to have a character go after Shengang Wu, just bring Wuya back in her human form. Because she left at the end of the 3rd season. She was still in her human...
Well, if this is a reboot, then...
Just bring her...
Then why... Like, if you're going to bring Wuya back, there's literally no point to Wuya. Why is she even there? I said that so many times, and it's annoying because I do like Wuya's character.
Yeah.
And she's got Cree Summers voicing her now. There's like literally
there are good voice actors in this, and we're just we're lost.
Like they're
wasted on.
There's this like no rhyme, or even the guy who voices Chase now. He's given the stupidest lines.
It's like he's a good voice actor.
And it is so embarrassing. I'm like feeling so much secondhand embarrassment. Oh my God.
I wager my good looks, and I'm going to lose, and then I still have my good looks at the end.
Oh, another really fanficky characters, not besides Ping Pong and Shadow. Kimiko's sister.
Yeah, sister pulled out of absolutely nowhere. We had maybe
another reference. Apparently, she literally was like going back to the whole contradicting thing. There's literally an episode where Kimiko, I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the exact line, but she does make a reference of like, basically she got some information from her sister.
Or something like that.
And you even like see a brief glimpse of her. And then some other episode, you have the monks all confused, like, Kimiko has a sister? Like,
this was mentioned before.
It was mentioned before, but even then, where did this supposed sister come from? And apparently she's always on some interdimensional spy mission.
Yeah, she is an interdimensional spy.
Where did that come from? Where is that in this universe?
This does not,
You have to explain when you introduce these plot points.
Yeah, we don't have any reason for it to have an interdimensional spy in this.
Why does she look exactly the same?
Yeah, basically
when
about 10 years ago.
that really stupid thing with like Kimiko, like, oh, my sister never visits me, or even sends a card.
Yeah, on her fifth birthday.
She's like a 5-year-old girl, and then you like flash forward later,
and
Kimiko's a teenager, and her sister still looks exactly the same, like some probably 16 or 17-year-old girl. What in the same outfit?
Yes, it's like.
At least in Pokemon,
They
which they never, like, let Ash age, he at least gets new outfits. Like, and that's apparently, even though it makes no sense that all this happens in 1 year. Like, what? What? There's just so much, and she is so Mary Sue-ish. Like,
yes.
so grating.
And it's like, and she tricked Chase.
Tricked Chase.
Yes.
How did she pull a wool over him?
Yeah, so
she apparently can beat up Shadow, which I hate Shadow, but Shadow's at least shown to be a competent fighter.
Yes.
And one kick, she can knock that girl out, and she can pull a wool over Chase?
Alright, so here's a basic breakdown of what happened. Kimiko's sister shows up, and she has a mission, and it was like she has a thing flashing Chase. So she goes to the temple with her sister, and then
apparently she tricked to double cross Kimiko, but
and then she stole this one Shengongu, which is supposed to be some sort of the undo Shengongu. It's literally
you don't see anything about it though, but I'm guessing it's supposed to be the Rio Reverso.
Because when I saw it, I'm like, that kind of looks like the Rio Reverso.
I'm guessing it's what it is, but guess what? You never see it, or you never see it used.
Yeah, so she basically...
You only see it just passed off. And
yeah, she takes the Shengon Wu, and she goes to Chase. She beats up Shadow, and then and Chase this whole time is going, she's pointless. There's no sense in looking at her. We must destroy her. And then she shows
up. Like, oh yes, good job. What?
Yeah, it's like apparently she had been working for him, so she hands this Shengon Wu to him, and then Jack's taking pictures of this, and Jack goes to Kimiko, and he's like, well, me and your sister, we're lovers. And he's like, and then she hands him the pictures, and she's like, oh, she's double crossing us. And then she gets
oh no, she didn't. She apparently like sends her a message at the end of the episode, and everything's all hunky-dory.
It's Kimiko's birthday again. It's like her birthday 2 days in a row.
I guess they're celebrating her birthday still, and they're giving her a whole bunch of cards to make her feel better. But it's just like they didn't go after her. They just
it's like,
they just all stayed at the temple. Yeah. They were all like, "Well, it's only one Shingon that was stolen."
Yes,
only one.
It's just a Shingon that was stolen, and it was if it was the Rio Reverso, that means they can make freaking dinosaurs.
Like,
yes, but the
or
sister's
like
plan,
the reversing mirror or the Serpastil, like that's only one that Raymundo stole from them.
Yeah,
and that still kind of was a big deal.
That was the big thing in the season finale. But it's like, all right, so the Kimiko's sister basically reveals that she had a mission to keep it was the Mask of the Green Monkey.
All in some exposition scene.
Yeah, in exposition dump at the very end.
She tells you. You don't actually get to see any of this truth. And even the next following episode, there is no reference of her pulling over a wool over Chase's eyes, even though she apparently tricked him into giving this Shingon.
Yeah, she basically also gave them there was a locator in the one that it was a fake Shingon that she gave Chase. So it's like, you can find the location of where all your Shingon Wu are.
And
they never
referenced it in that next episode.
They never do anything about it because they find the vault in the latest episode.
That was Dojo and Rocco that did it. Like, so what was the point? What was the point of her doing that for them?
There was no point.
But the fact that she could be so smart and so talented
to beat up Shadow, who's also a Mary Sue,
but not nearly to that point of like these other characters. Like, and Shadow is also very inconsistent. Mm-hmm. It's just like, I'm loyal to Chase and blah 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 blah.
And now I'm betraying him, but I'm also in love with him. Or I want to
betray him, or like I love him, and then there's
she'll go to his face and be like, I'm going to betray you,
or where did I come from? And this whole, who am I?
What's really funny is when she sees her origin, she's like, that's where I came from? What?
But it was like, they brought it up, but then they dropped that complete plot point.
There was no cloning blues or anything.
And then at the end of another episode, you just hear her say, who am I? Or something like that. And it's like, wait.
Are you actually trying to do this plot?
We're going to revisit this again? Because of it, now it seemed like apparently we didn't care about this. It's so not consistent. It's just, oh my gosh. My gosh.
The humor.
The gross humor, nobody thinks that's funny.
No.
Xiaolin Shodown had some toilet humor moments, but they were not that over the top.
There are a couple. Dojo is basically like every single Shingon Wu gives them this really horrible.
A new reaction every time. It was always a different reaction. Sometimes he shaked violently. Sometimes he had a hair or hairy coat or a rash, or he was really itchy, or he kept burping.
It's like in Chronicles, it's always something disgusting. He always has
these big things come out of his butt, and there's like pus just shoots out.
Pus and like fireworks, and it's like every single time, no matter if it's a small thing.
So disgusting.
It's like, I mean, the grossest thing from that I can recall in Xiaolin Showdown is the only time that I felt kind of grossed out by Dojo was when when Clay had to use the fist of Tebegong to scratch Dojo's itchy scales, and it was like,
but it's not as over the top.
No, and it was like those moments were rare. Because most of the time it was just Dojo's like,
you wouldn't even see a character puking. Like whenever there's the one episode judging Omi, like whenever Raimundo was obviously sick to his stomach and Cyclops grabs him, you just see the other character's reaction of like, ugh, and you hear Raimundo throw it. No, not in this series. They would flat out show you that. It's not funny.
No, and it's like, and there are a lot of times of the jokes of like Clay.
And a lot of like, oh yeah, those make no sense. Like he made something of like, I feel like I've been like trampled over by an eight-legged moose. What does that have to do with being a cowboy?
A lot of those things were like stuff that,
like he talked about like being like thrown off a bronco and stomped on. Like it has to make sense where he like came from because he's a cowboy.
I mean, we've talked about
or
that.
The goats. Fetish?
The ghosts, yeah, all these goats. And there was one time, one episode. Oh, I'm so pissed off. He's asleep in this one episode, and they hear him talking about Molly, curly brown hair, and it's like, and we were like,
is Clay gonna have a special someone?
It's like,
that's cute.
And he's like, who's Molly? He's like, oh, I grew up with her, and you're like,
and we're like, aw, and I was thinking, oh, Chronicles might actually do something that's worthwhile. And so who is Molly? A goat.
Yes, Molly is a goat, and he's like, oh, Molly, and you're just like. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he mentioned goats. It's like, it's stupid.
Actually, we can tell you how many times he mentioned goats.
He mentioned goats 8 times.
8 times.
Specifically goats.
Specifically.
There were goat jokes.
There was always variations of Clay's, like, southern, like, jokes. Variations all the time. They were, like, not, like, constantly repeating everything in your face.
I mean, a lot of times the jokes were more the fact that he was a lot more intelligent than he let on.
Those were some of the jokes about it, too. And he's looking for barbecue instead of Dojo.
Oh yes, they were using this one sniffing Shenggong Wu. It puts a big pig nose on you and lets you sniff. They're trying to find Dojo because that was the second episode they had where they disrespected Dojo and they had to learn to treat him right. And the second one, Dojo's Adventure felt like a freaking Animaniacs series of skits.
But that was actually better written.
Yeah, it was better written. But it was like Dojo was like, I want to go to be respected, and he goes to some shrink who's like Dr. Ford. And he's like, tell me about your mother. And then he kicks him out the window.
What the heck? It's just there's no rhyme or reason. And just poor Clay. He's just some dumb thing.
So they're looking for a Dojo, and instead of being in the Silver Manta Ray.
But they're walking.
They're walking and they're all tired. Oh no, we don't have Dojo.
We miss Dojo. What?
And then they're like, did you find him, Clay? He's like, no, I found something better. Barbecue.
Clay would not abandon a friend for food.
Yeah, and also speaking of Dojo.
Dojo, poor Dojo.
He's so creepily obsessed with Master Fung. I mean, he was kind of obsessed with him in the first one because
but it wasn't never to this degree. This is such flanderization.
It's like I mean, you look at it. He actually had some. If you look into Dojo's character, he had some separation anxiety from his last
very
master
similar to like
him.
a rescue dog.
Yeah,
and like they're very, very, very affectionate and loving to like their new master because of they came from either a rough home or a home that neglected them. It's like, it's very akin to that, except Dojo's more sentient. It's like, but
Dojo was talking about being in love with Master Fung. He would constantly have dreams about him.
So
he would carry a picture.
weird.
He had a doll of Master Fung, and he was making out with it, literally.
Why?
And it's
He's an old man and a dragon. Why are we doing this really weird, creepy interspecies romance joke? That's a joke, apparently. That's not funny.
It's about as funny as Beska. But it's like, it was it's like Dojo's actually, he gets so emotional he can't fly.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
and how many times has he done that pathetic crying?
Yes, he cries. He never.
So much. He was actually getting angry at Rocco, and like twice. And instead of like yelling, he just broke down crying. Dojo's not even allowed to be angry. He's just this pathetic shell of who he really is. And apparently he would flat out willingly abandon the kids.
Yes, he did that twice. In both of the episodes where they treated him like garbage.
Okay, in Showdown, when he was unappreciated, it was never mean-spirited and them treating him like he was some slave to do their chores. There was them making jokes at his expense. But friends and family do that all the time. And sometimes
it can be mean.
It can be mean, and you're like, guys, no, that's not cool. That's hurting my feelings. And that's pretty much essentially what it was. And the kids are like, oh, we're sorry. Like, we actually didn't mean to do that. We were just trying to be funny. But like, I'm sorry. We won't do that again.
In this, they treat him like garbage. They treat him like a slave. He
didn't flat out abandon them. It was just Juan just like, hey, I'll introduce you to some guy who would really appreciate your talents.
And that guy was Chase Young, and it was a whole trick.
It was a whole thing, but it wasn't him flat out abandoning these kids. Dojo actually tried to protect them on a couple occasions despite being cowardly.
Especially when that one thing where he gets super serious and goes into dragon form.
Oh yeah, against Chase. Chase, who you see multiple times. He's very afraid of.
Chase beat the crap out of the Chi monster.
Oh my goodness. Dojo. They're so mean to him. So like
and in fact one line Omi has. He's like,
Dojo doesn't have feeling. What?
Yeah, and then in this episode, they somehow got some award from a monk. It was a big stage, and there were a bunch of people there, and you're just like, you've done a lot of good work. Here's a statue that looks just like Omi.
Where did that come from?
And then Omi's just like,
and why are they getting this reward?
And then it's like, and then Omi's like being all kind of creepy with it.
Almost like that's such a flanderization of his ego too. But okay, what's the point of Fung?
Okay, all right, yeah. Let me tell you about what Fung does.
Nothing.
It's like, so basically he's in there at the beginning, and he's just kind of doesn't tell them anything.
And you think that, there's going to be like this awesome fight against Chase and Fung.
So Chase and Fung, Chase, they have like this thing where Fung is just like flying around, and then Chase beats him up, and then the temple gets destroyed, and Fung is like, I'm going on a trip. You're going to have to find a new temple. And then he just floats off on a cloud.
When could Dojo, like, when is he, no, not Dojo, when is Fung Jesus? Like, what the heck? And he, like, keeps constantly coming in.
Yes, and
what's the point
his
of him
beard,
being their teacher?
Oh yeah, basically he starts off in the show, his beard is really long.
And he'll have short beards, and then long beard, and then short beard.
And then it stayed short for, like, the last half of these episodes, but it's like, I mean, in fact, there was actually one episode in the first episode where, they talk about, he tells everyone how Wuya was trapped in a spring by Dashi, and then Dojo's like, wasn't it a puzzle box?
And then he like reaches over and just grabs his mouth.
He basically makes Dojo shut up. And it's like,
just like, what?
And then he abandons the kids to go.
Like, he's their teacher. He's kind of supposed to train them. Yeah. Like, why is he always out at some spa or whatever the else heck he's doing?
A spa on the top of a mountain with a bunch of other old guys, and you're just like,
what? Why?
And he's like, and then he comes back to visit, and then, basically he sends them on a mission to find this new temple, and they get this, like...
and then they get sidetracked and don't even go and look for it until finally some other episode, that's not even them finding a temple. It's just these random Shingon-Wu coming together, summoning some random princess, or her temple comes up, and it's like, here, kid, you can have this.
Yeah, this princess comes in, and they had this thunder hoof, which is like a Native American, like, horn that can call upon a thunder horse on a rainbow bridge.
Out of nowhere, some talisman. It's not even a Shingon-Wu given to him by his Clay's grandfather. Like, it's just some magical talisman
and then they're like, hey, Thunderhoof, like, you know what this horse is?
Like this random horse that comes on a rainbow. Is everybody on drugs?
I mean, this makes me think of the bridge in Thor, the Rainbow Bridge, and it's like...
But that at least had some establishment.
Yeah, but that's actually cool. But
it's just... Oh my god. Okay, Jack, not only is he really flanderized, like, so much, and says the stupidest things that even Jack would never say, what is the point of that team?
Okay, alright, you know how... what was the team called in the showdown?
He sometimes would just be like his army of evil.
Yeah,
it's like,
so basically this was Catnape, Cyclops, and
Tubby-Mora. That's those guys. Tubby-Mora has not had a line. I think
I think he had like
maybe
2 lines.
Grunts.
And he said a couple things, maybe.
Maybe. And I think Catnape has it, other than, yes, we can.
Yes, they do
and
that.
Maybe
they do that Obama thing where they're like, yes, we can.
But,
yes, we can.
It was so...
And then they run off cheering, and you're just like, are they just cheerleaders?
They just, like, what
Jack's
the heck?
Jack's design is all weird. And I mean,
really, really
bland.
It's just
the
giant eyes that make him look like he's 12.
Yeah, okay. And there's one thing that I really absolutely hate is the fact that he doesn't consistently have the Helibot on his back. In Xiaolin Showdown, this is very explicitly stated to be something very important to him because it was given to him by his grandmother when he turned evil. Because he made a big deal about that when Tubimura took that to him when he didn't have anything to give him.
Why is he in some random mad scientist lab? This teenage boy.
Yeah, he's a teenage boy in some warehouse chemical building.
Did his parents just buy it for him and just drop him off there while they gallivant around the world somewhere?
Someone actually made a reference. Like someone was like, well, they did make a reference to his oh, hey, I wager my mom if you can find her.
That's nothing.
He lived in his parents' basement, literally. That's where his lab was.
Teenage boy. What the you can't just be throwing in things just for the sake of whatever.
Yeah, and one thing Tubimura doesn't talk except for maybe one line.
Sometimes he's
his dog, his Chihuahua talks.
Suddenly it can talk, muffin face.
And it's basically a jerk to Jack, and you're just like,
why?
What is going on?
Why can this dog all of a sudden talk?
I mean, it's not like a Shangong Wu gave it the ability to talk or something.
It's or some mythical creature. No, she can talk because she can. And sometimes he's in his lab, and other times, for some reason, he's at Tubimura's place, I guess.
And then the Panda Bubba comes in, and Panda Bubba is talking about controlling the meat supplies. Oh yeah, and in that episode, Jack uses a serum to turn cows into robo-cows.
How?
What? Literally, it turns them into robots.
How does a liquid serum, by drinking it, turn something into a robot?
What the hell did Panda Bubba do?
Even
and what was
the most bizarrest Silver Age comic books could not have something so weird.
Yes, and it's and Panda Bubba was like, I will control the meat supply of Asia.
And he was so stupid.
Yes.
He was so stupid.
And there's an episode with Good Jack who becomes a cult leader.
But, why did all of a sudden these villains want to be following Good Jack?
Yes.
Why would they even care?
Yes.
Panda Bubba for crying out loud.
Cyclops, Panda Bubba, Tubimura, and Catnappy all follow.
Cyclops is an idiot who just listens to people, okay. But why would these other people...
Why would Panda Bubba or Catnappy?
Does it matter really? Because they don't even have lines, so obviously they don't have much of a character.
No, and it's
And speaking of an important character, especially a really important character who doesn't really seem to have much of a personality.
Oh, Raymundo.
Raymundo. Oh my freaking crap!
It's
he is the second most important character in Xiaolin Showdown. He was the leader.
He had an arc that spanned over 3 seasons of him growing up and then becoming the leader of the...
He had a very distinct personality, and you barely see any of it.
He talks like he doesn't have any... He doesn't get nasal problems.
Okay, people are seriously Raymundo sounds basically like the old Raymundo, but older. He doesn't sound older. I know boys who hit puberty. They don't sound like they always have a head cold. He sounds like Tom Kenny's Raymundo with a head cold.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, he's so bland. I rarely see much of his personality.
And the only time that he has any personality was one episode. Where they basically ruined his backstory.
Where it's his focus, and they gave the most convoluted, stupid, forced backstory.
He was apparently was it an orphan or something?
I don't know. But
they didn't explain.
He lived at some circus.
He lived at some circus and had crap thrown at him by monkeys.
And was laughed at by monkeys.
And in this episode, they introduced some Chase knockoff.
Oh, okay.
He's
okay. So as you know in the last video, how much I loved Omi and Chase's dynamic in Showdown. Okay, not only does this one spit so much and not care about that with and Chase does not even act like himself.
And Chase ends up shilling ping pong.
And we'll get into that other really stupid stuff. But you instead take this new character, and I cannot believe I say this because he's only in one episode and there's not much to him, and the whole episode kind of was really stupid. But he became one of the most interesting things I've ever seen. Why? Because he acts more like Chase Young than Chase Young acts like Chase Young.
Yes.
And he, for some reason, was starting to form this this relationship
father-son relationship
with
Raymundo.
Raymundo, which was like that was the whole thing in Showdown with Omi and Chase, and I was like, why does Raymundo need this? Like, you're gonna insert some really sad backstory to him. He was just this carefree, lazy kid who just like
grew up with eight younger brothers and sisters.
Well, I don't think they ever really specified like where in the family it was. But he does have 8 siblings. I always assumed that Raymundo was the oldest because he doesn't act like somebody who has like all of Raymundo's insecurities came from later on. Like the situations that he was put in because of his attitude
and the fact that
he was held behind, or the fact that he betrayed them, or like other mistakes he made. Those are not family insecurities. Those are just things that like situations that as they come and then they affect him, kind of like how somebody, they can be happy all their life and suddenly they go to college and suddenly reality smacks them in the face and then they start to develop insecurities. It's like that's kind of what Raymundo was. He was just this carefree, lazy like little thing who was like just this prankster.
Yeah.
And suddenly
he's nothing.
And
the episode that they introduced guy, what was his name?
Salvador
or something.
But he apparently they have a similar backstory.
Yes, and here's the thing: he can turn into a lizard form, or a Komodo dragon.
I guess, but because of some medallion.
Some medallion, and he used to hang out with Wuya.
Apparently,
she was hanging off of him in some sort of flashback thing.
But it was like, then how old is he? Because it's a medallion that makes him change. So is he some person that lives forever or not?
And it's like, he could only have hung out with a human Wuya if he
was like 1,500 years old. So I'm like, so we're literally trying to recreate it, but it was only in one episode.
Yeah, and he's never mentioned
and never referenced again.
And basically, apparently, they don't really explain what's going on with him, but apparently they were supposed to deliver him to some prison, and they spend basically days running around fulfilling his bucket list or his wish list from what he wanted to do when he was a kid, because he has the exact same backstory as Raymundo.
Apparently, some convoluted and then it was like only like finally like. And the whole time I was saying to myself, wait, why do they have this guy in a cage and why are they carrying to take him someplace? Weren't they supposed to be looking for some new temple?
Yes, and then
And then suddenly at the end of the episode it was like, oh yeah, we were supposed to take him and drop him off in the jail. They're not cops. Why is this their job?
And then he rips off his arm.
Yeah. And then that was like...
He grows it back and then his leftover arm is just dangling.
And for some reason Chase like freed him and it was like, why? What, do they know each other? And then there was like, that was never referenced again either.
And he gives this medallion to
and he says so many Captain Obvious moments to Raymundo. It's like he literally.
So instead of being snarky,
he says literally the most Captain Obvious things. Like the only like thing is like correcting Omi like every so often.
But it's like, and even then that was really stupid. Like what Omi says either wasn't very far off or. It's not even a catchphrase.
No sense. It was just like them like throwing things there and see if it'll work. It was like Showdown was much more creative with that humor. Oh my gosh. And Clay, besides the stupid goat thing, he didn't have much to his personality either. He's just some dumb cowboy.
And basically he's the exact stereotype that Xiaolin Showdown
like gravitated away from.
And
but there's nothing much to him either. There's like literally nothing much.
I can't even, besides the goat thing, I can't think of anything about him.
Like with Raymundo, the only thing I can think of is literally that one episode. That's it. Because he is just so bland. And
Kimiko?
And, same with Ping Pong. He's just this perfect little thing. And he's just this humble, perfect little thing. He's just so pure.
And his character design is an exact knockoff of Omi.
Exactly. It's just, there's nothing creative about it. Nothing.
And it's like, and if you did have this sort of European monk who came in.
Who was like, just like some orphan that they found from Asia or something. And they took him in. It's okay, fine, whatever. Okay. But why couldn't he just be like some kid who was French? Like, why does he have to look exactly like Omi unless you're going to have him as Omi's long-lost brother, which, like, why? It's just, he's not interesting. And he could have been interesting, and he's not interesting.
Like, and we said before how he's using all these other elements and never uses the element of wood except for maybe one episode.
Yeah, speaking of Chase.
Oh, yeah, Chase.
Oh, my freaking crap.
Chase is
apparently, he's, where do we even begin?
He loves Shengon Wu now. Despite the fact that he says
doesn't.
He constantly goes after them, gets into Xiaolin showdowns over them. It's like, and he would do stuff like that.
He acts like a stupid, stereotypical, one-shot bad guy in a Saturday morning cartoon. He does not act like Chase, and there's always there's these jokes poking fun at how handsome he is, which Showdown never really made much focus on that at all.
One part where he was dunks his hair in this water, and he goes,
and then laughs maniacally. What was that?
It's like in his lair, instead of being scary on the outside and this lavish, elegant,
which really told you about Chase. He is both formidable and elegant.
And his basically he just has a cave.
Just some dingy old cave, and his cats.
His cats. Okay, we were so confused because his cats aren't fearsome. His cats are beat up just as much as the jackbots.
They're a joke.
Yes. So and then they're treated as gags, and so we find out in this one of the latter episodes. These are just a bunch of schmucks that Chase
apparently scrounged up.
There you see business people. You see old
and some warriors. And it was what? He just takes random people. In Showdown, it made sense. He was looking for strong warriors to serve him because then he could have this elite army.
And when you saw them transform into their human form,
they were formidable.
And you saw this varying designs like Aztec warriors,
even though they don't get much lines. There were so many creative designs and just it was just, there was thought put into it, even though there wasn't at all, there were not much focus or even names given to them.
Mm-hmm.
But you could tell thought was at least put into, let's do these warriors from different time periods from all over the world.
And nope, they're just a bunch of schmucks.
There's just a bunch of
Because they were in the Shenga world, and they're just, and Ping Pong's those are the cat warriors for Chase. And you see
French
this guy,
accent. He's got a French accent, dude.
His accent is weird because he used to speak European, but
he would make a bunch of
Spanish words, French words,
which apparently it's he was raised in he went from monastery to monastery, but it's
and then they implied that there was some sort of not even the Buddhist, and they were supposed to be what I guess
well, okay, if you had different religions of the world that trained their warriors. And they were all unified to fight evil, okay, but they never established that.
This is something it was the Shaolin monks and those things, and then you have a Shaolin monk in some sort of what I guess would be a Christian monastery.
I'm guessing,
and it's
but it's just not. And then finally he just stuck with French constantly, mostly saying French, which I'm
okay.
Stick with one, please, because of saying 5 or 6. Okay, it was more 3, but it was confusing because then I'm wait, what's he supposed to be? They don't know.
And there was this one episode where Chase.
Why does Chase care about ping pong? Because he's pure.
And he's powerful because he can use all these.
He's such a Gary Stu, and it's so frustrating because ping pong could be interesting, but no, he's not. And then there's one episode, only one episode. Where and it was so phoned in, where Chase is to Omi, you should join the dark side.
Yeah, and it was they were trying to recapture the whole thing from...
With a couple of throwaway lines. Yeah, At least with Salvador and Raimundo, it had a whole episode.
Yeah, and then it was with him and Omi, he's
it was just one throwaway line. And
it's and it felt so forced because he hadn't done any of that at all. And then...
He was suddenly he now cares about Omi again. But then it was the other episode where it's just he's... even makes a reference... When he was talking about ping pong, he's he can't be corrupted because he doesn't have an ego. And I'm so why aren't you trying to corrupt Omi if apparently that's what's important?
Yes, and then basically they have the Ring of the Nine Dragons episode with ping pong.
And that was so confusing. And why make him drink the Lao Meng soup? Because he's pure?
Yes, Chase forces...
blackmails him.
And then forces him to forces ping pong to drink the Lao
What happened to the whole rule and it has to be a choice? He blackmailed him. That's technically not a choice. You're forced into that choice.
Don't forget. Remember, Chase just goes around zapping the Shaolin monks and turning them into cats.
Not even defeating them in battle. Just he zapped him. And if he could do that anytime, why doesn't he constantly try to do that? It's never.
He has all these powers that come out of nowhere, and
then they're never referenced again.
No. It's he had a couple random moments in Xiaolin Showdown where it's ooh, he's flying now, and you're just what? It's that was just...
But that's minor in comparison to so many inconsistencies here. I'm able to forgive any inconsistency now in Showdown because it's there's something so much worse. Oh, my freaking freak. Like, oh, that... And I remember whenever Chase called Ping Pong Little One? You remember?
Yes.
Remember? I literally, like, grabbed a pillow and I, like, started hitting it.
And beating the crap out of it.
And then I screamed into it.
That's what Chase called Omi.
Pause it. It's like, because... If you don't understand, that was my favorite thing. And it's like, you're like, with the whole thing with the Raimundo episode in Salvador and then this thing with Ping Pong, they're taking one of my favorite things, throwing it out the window and trying to insert something else. It is so fanficky. Like, I remember reading fanfics where you will take some OC, or even heck, people will take Raimundo, and it pisses me off, and tries to insert him in the place that Omi took in that whole position. Like that, like trying to recreate a bit. It's like, no, that was... specifically, and it made sense for Showdown because these two were very, like, much like they're trying to do with, like, Raimundo and Salvador.
You could find posts about this on,
figures.
like the yin and yang elements between the two characters and their similarities.
I could totally go on for days, but it's just, like, it had purpose and interest, and it was fascinating.
And it's just...
And there's so many layers you can try to explore with it, and this is just throwaway line after throwaway line, and it's so schizophrenic, and just what the... frig, and it's fan fiction stupid. And I like some fan fiction, but this is bad, stupid fan fiction, not good one.
And speaking of the dragons,
and he's always, don't forget, Chase always says these things that he would never say. Like, he wouldn't say things like, my good looks, or doohickey, or this other really stupid...
Or in one of the latter episodes, Jack was installing a TV and satellite and Wi-Fi into his...
Or why would he care about his cooking robot?
Yes, and basically Jack was impressed by... Or Chase was impressed by Jack's chef bot.
He actually said he was impressed, and I was just like, it just... No!
That's not...
He's a joke. I can't take this guy seriously. He's a joke. And oh my gosh, and Kimiko, yes.
Yes.
It's just funny because he had not seen past like even the first showdown of like the first episode.
In fact, basically I stopped. I was so mad at the episode that my mom made me stop watching. So, before Willow was revealed to be Shadow.
I kept going. So I find it funny in the last video. What did you bring up? You brought up several things that I was just like, oh honey, like when we were about to watch this. One of them being Kimiko and her dad.
I love that relationship because they were so fun. I mean, and of course he was Satoru Iwata, and it was like they were so sweet and kind.
They adored each other.
The way it's introduced in Chronicles is Kimiko's like, oh, I had a fight with my dad before I left. Okay. I said such mean.
So if there's a plot, you got point A and point Z, and you kind of need B through Y. Mm-hmm. You know, for Y, point A equals point Z. Okay, so we had point A. Oh my gosh, I had a fight with my dad, and I said something I regret. And then you have point Z, which is the whole resolution. Which
he gets rid of this project.
He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, my projects, obviously, I feel like I paid more attention to them than you. That's the resolution. Nothing in between fits point A and point Z. Because it's point A, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Z. Because it's like all of a sudden...
Because they were fine in the middle.
Then whenever she sees him again, they're all of a sudden all hunky-dory and they get along and all this stuff like that. And what was with the whole, like, confusion?
Yes. They were in this world that he'd created a digital Tokyo that if you destroy something in there, apparently it destroys the real Tokyo. And then you...
But the dilemma she had, like, to destroy
they were going to destroy the world while they were in this world.
While they are in this world. Why is this a dilemma? Reboot, get out of there, then you can destroy it.
And she was
but apparently this was such a moral dilemma while they're inside there, and it just like, but they didn't make much reference to it. So it's just, it was once again I was like, oh, so this is an important plot point that we're now finally going to revisit.
And I think Jack died in that episode. He was literally erased. Oh yeah, and this is the episode with the Data eating Shenggong Wu. Oh yeah, and also by the way, Dashi didn't create all the Shenggong Wu.
Apparently. That was
and apparently Dojo didn't help him hide them either.
Apparently.
And it's just...
and like before our battery cuts out, we have to charge it again. Mm. Oh, my freak. What is like the whole thing? It was all, once again, not consistent. Her and her sister. It was like, originally it seemed like she was resenting her sister because her sister was hot-dogging it and showing her up.
Kind of like with Starfire and Blackfire in the Teen Titans show.
It seemed to introduce it to that. But then it turned around and it's like, no, my sister never even visited me. She never like...
She was always off being a super interdimensional spy.
And it's like, where did that come from? What does that have to do with you resenting your sister, dogging it? Like, if anything, wouldn't you be happy that your sister's willing to spend time with you?
Yeah, and in fact, her sister was like, he's like, oh wow, Kimiko, I'm so glad we get to spend so much time together now.
She was like, she literally thought it said, she's like, I'm so glad we got to spend this time together. I missed you. So that's basically her trying to apologize. And then Kimiko out of nowhere, like, was gone.
You never gave me that birthday card.
You never spent time with me. All you ever care about your missions. And then suddenly she's just like they hug or whatever. She's like, come, I must show you something. And suddenly they're best friends.
Oh yeah, they're going on through some dimension where there's
like, and they're suddenly flying.
Yeah, and they're flying, and then
just like what? Like what? Sorry, battery blipped out.
Yeah. So let's see if we can finish this before it blips out again. Okay, we had Omi, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. The Flanderization in Omi.
It's ridiculous.
We just
watched My Homie Omi.
Because we needed something.
And it was cleansing. We were laughing, we were cheering.
The humor, the characters had so much personality.
It's like you don't even realize this until after you watch Chronicles.
And the way they fight, that's another thing we didn't mention. In Chronicles, the fighting and the animation, even though it's shinier, nicer, probably more expensive looking animation, it's so clunky and just
bland. It's bland. It's the choreography of the fights.
It's messy. It's just there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just it's not fun to look at. It's just I remember, like, I even said, like, when Chase did that whole thing, that karate jump, and he like hung his hand in the air, and I thought he was like gonna knock something. No, it's just like huh. And then just like hits like Feng's arms. I was just like, what? That was just so. They're so.
Yes, it's like you saw like. Raimundo had a certain way. He did this like super speedy kick, and then Clay grabbed one of the jackpots and threw it in the other one. And Kimiko,
and like the way they all fought, it just like, even though this animation's obviously not as expensive, it just flowed.
It worked well.
And the choreography was really good. And oh my gosh!
And you saw like Omi using the tsunami strike.
And even like the showdown, it was just like, okay.
Oh yeah, it was the basketball, and it's like
they were so creative.
And they pulled out the rules of the it's like okay,
Omi's like, have a second person come in. It's like we need to have a person for Jack, where it's like it's this giant robot. It's like, and if we're gonna have two people, it has to now be wagered to Shingon Wu. So Jack's like, I'll wager these two, and Omi's just like, well, the only other one I got is this. It's like, fine, that'll work.
And it's like the rules, and there were rules for this, and it's like, and Omi was polite in this episode.
Omi has been so
rude.
Okay, yes.
I feel so sorry for Terry Strong.
Yes, he kind of had like moments where he said mean lines, like in even season 3, which was Flanderized, but it was never even this mean spirited. He was so mean spirited, like just like. How he even sometimes will just like say things to Ping Pong, and like whenever he was jealous of Jermaine, it wasn't like he hated Jermaine. It was like
part of it was a jealousy of how he's gotten so good so fast,
and how like he kind of, it was almost like this fear of being replaced, because that's this insecurity Omi has, like he always has to be the best or nobody will want to be his friend anymore.
Yeah,
and it's like, but with Ping Pong, it's just flat out jealousy, and
even Willow too. It changed depending on who. He's like, oh no, we can't have you. Oh no, it's like no, I want Ping Pong. No, I want Willow, because
and his ego is even Flanderized to the extreme. Like whenever he had little Omi bot, he's just like, oh, you're so cute, and all this stuff. But when
it's like
that statue that was like on him in Chronicles, he was like smooching it and all this other weird stuff.
It's like, and he was with the Omi bot. The Omi bot was like, you are most handsome. Then Omi was like, yes, you too.
Like it was never that extreme.
It was kind of adorable.
It was never that extreme. It was very much like a child. Like a selfish little child.
Yeah, it's like
but he's never so mean-spirited. Like when we were watching My Homie Omi, even like a bunch of strangers, or just like even like things like Kimiko, because of it's like in Chronicles, he's like, how many times has there been like a joke and just like, oh, Kimiko, you can't do this because you're a girl. And they did it like maybe twice in Showdown when they Flanderized Omi's character. It wasn't out of him actually like originally it was just him out of ignorance, not he was actually sexist. It was like, but then twice they made that joke.
Well, I mean, one of the episodes was that he was reading like a book from the 1800s.
That was that episode. It was like the Kimiko hothead one.
Yes.
In season 1, but it was like I think like they Flanderized him like I think once in like season 2 and season 3 where he did like flat out was just like, but you're a girl, like, but it was never to this point. And it was like, but I'm watching here, like, my homie, and he's just like, she like hands him another quarter because he's like looking at these binoculars to look at the Statue of Liberty.
He's like, oh, she must have been a great Shaolin warrior to have such a large statue.
And he kind of, he's just like, he's like, it shut me off. And she's just like, oh, it's just ran out of time. She's like, here, Omi, and gives him another coin. And what does he do? He turns to her, thanks her, and bows to her.
And it's like, he was so polite. He was running through this crowd, and he's like, excuse me, official on business.
He's like, hello, honorable stranger. It's like, hello, my, like, friends. Like, just some to random, like, people. Like, he's very, very formal and traditional and polite. Like, even with that ego and... It's just like, and they still mean to Dojo constantly.
Oh, and Dojo in this was great. He was funny, and he was worried not because he was away from Master Rug, but because he lost Omi, and it was his duty.
He was actually worried about, like, because that's his job.
It's like Master Rug put him in charge of the kids, and now he lost Omi in New York City.
And he was actually like, oh my gosh, I actually lost this kid, and he's like, ah.
And then when he sensed the serpent seal, he was like, it's getting nearby.
And he's just like, just trembling, not stupid.
And then you saw Wuya was there at the same time.
But it was funny because even whenever they were like what about Omi? And he's like, hey,
he's fine.
He's like, I'm sure I'll be fine. And like this nervous laugh, or he's like, hang on, it'll be okay. He's like, because Omi's looking for the serpent's tail. He's like, once we find it, I'm sure we'll find Omi. And he was so competent. Oh my gosh,
it's like, and
Raimundo actually had a personality.
Raimundo and Clay, they had two lines to each other.
They just had a couple lines exchanging to each other, just a couple of sentences. I felt they had so much more personality than Raimundo did in the majority of episodes, or even Clay.
You don't even realize this until after you watch Chronicles and you watch this, and you're just like, wow! It's like you just realize how well it's done, how the Xiaolin Chronicles, how artistic they were.
They were so creative. Christy Wee was so creative. This whole series,
the whole team was so creative.
Yes, there was executive meddling that got in the way a lot of her ideas in season 3. But it was they still had so many creative elements. It just hurts me.
It's like...
It hurts me. I didn't grow up watching Xiaolin Showdown.
Neither did I.
It wasn't my childhood.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't fall in love with it until I was in college, as I said in the last video.
And it's like...
Now
that we're older, we can understand
I can understand and appreciate so much from it. And that's why I hate... Chronicles so much. There is no creativity. There's no thought put into it. There's no planning. It is just randomness, and they didn't care. It just
they throw everything into it, and then they just do whatever.
There's nothing that would bring back new audiences or old audiences.
Yeah.
I babysit these kids, and you know what I did? I made them watch the first 5 episodes of Chronicles. The 2 littlest ones. They got so bored in the first 2 episodes, they stopped watching. They just started playing little video games on their dad's iPad. The other 2, who were 8 and 10, who were watching it with me, actually was willing to sit down. I can't tell you how many times I had to pause the DVR thing, whatever it was, because they were just so confused. They're not familiar with Xiaolin Showdown. They never watched it. They were so confused. They were constantly why did this happen? Why did that happen? I don't get it. And they're just like, Aaron, can you explain this to me?
Xiaolin Chronicles, the new 52.
They were so confused, these kids. And this is supposed to be apparently for new fans, apparently, I guess, but not really. But it's not doing anything to appeal to old fans.
It's pissing off old fans by changing everything and doing things stupid and
plagiarizing. And it's confusing new fans completely. It is being the last airbender of this stuff. A really crappy movie which did nothing to bring in new audiences and did nothing but piss off the old audiences.
And it was it would just drop a bunch of exposition or not give you any exposition at all.
And no character, no personality, just so hollow. That's what Chronicles feels when it's not being random or it's on drugs.
Or gross.
Hollow. Yeah, it feels so hollow. And you know what? This little boy, this 10-year-old little boy, who is watching it, and because the girl, this 8-year-old girl, she was so freaking confused too. And this boy flat out said, because he couldn't take it anymore, 5 episodes, a 10-year-old boy, he said, Aaron, I'm sorry, I know you kept talking because when I saw the promo for Chronicles, and I said, oh, this is a reboot, because they know what a reboot is, because they both watched, because their dad had, the original 87 Ninja Turtle like VHS tapes. So the kids watch all those original Ninja Turtle show. And then there's this new one now on Nickelodeon. So the kids now understand the concept of what a reboot is.
Except that's a good reboot.
So, and I said to these kids, and I said, oh, like when this promo happened, I said, oh, this is a reboot of a show that I really love. And he said, I'm sorry, Aaron. He's like, I know you love Xiaolin Showdown, whatever the show is called. And he's like, but this new show, he's like, I don't want to watch anymore. He flat out, this 10-year-old, he's like, Aaron, this show is stupid. He is not a fan. So you know what I did? I said, why don't I show you something I love? It's like, let's see if how will you feel about it? And they were very hesitant about watching Showdown because they saw Chronicles. They're now loving it, these kids I babysit. We have gotten finally to the season 1 finale. These kids are eating it up. They enjoy it. They love these characters. They are laughing and they find everything. So they are getting into it. Showdown knew their audience. What does Chronicles know? Nothing. It doesn't know its audience. It doesn't even know what it wants to be. It has no identity. And that is its biggest flaw.
And there's no real direction under it. And it's like... And with, Showdown, you can see what's going on.
Even with the mess of season 3, there was still somewhat of a direction going on.
In
Chronicles, there's no rhyme or reason, there's no direction, there's no soul.
And it's not fun at all.
It is not fun. I can maybe think of a couple things. On one hand, I might have said, oh, I kept tally. There was literally 5 times I only said, that was actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
And the moment we're like, oh, that could have been cute. Too bad it was stuck in like a scene that was very rushed. Or,
yes.
Or like they're like, oh, that character would have been cool if they were like there was more to them.
And they were done in Showdown.
There's so much. Oh, what if they did it this way? What if they did it that way?
Well,
that's the battery's about to die. But I think that's pretty much our main point. There's no soul, no direction. No rhyme or reason, no purpose.
No, and that's Chronicles. There's no purpose.
That is why we can't stand it. That is not why the anti-crowd doesn't hate it, specifically because it's not Xiaolin Showdown. Because there are reboots like the Ninja Turtles cartoon.
TMNT 2020.
And the relationship.
Alright, yes. Okay, so yes.
Sorry, another blip out.
We were talking about the no rhyme or reason.
The pacing, as we said, there's just no rhyme or reason. There's just no thought. It's also it's
super fast.
It's like so much. It just goes so much. And
so fast. She says that this can be summed up in the intro sequence, which is like...
It literally can't. Like, if you, watch Xiaolin Showdown, its intro is literally a minute long. And it actually takes each second to introduce something, the title sequence, and then... It has the cool music, and then it introduces each character, and then it goes to the characters, the heroes and the villains running at each other. And it's it took its time. In 1 minute. In Chronicles, it is literally just boom, here's all these characters, here's everybody running.
It's 20, it's not even 20 seconds.
I swear, it's half the time. You can sum up the pacing with just that intro. It is loud and obnoxious and fast.
And it's and then there's nothing, they don't stop for any explanations, it's just, oh no.
Any possible plausible explanation is so glossed over or ignored. Everything is all over the place. And the relationships, they don't take so much time to develop the relationships anymore.
It's we were just watching A Dangerous Minds, and it's we were talking about how...
one episode... where you actually have the entire ending half an episode dedicated to Omi and Chase uniting under, just for the fight for the same cause. Whereas in, Chronicles, where they all team up with Chase and Shadow, it's literally, maybe the last third, and they don't...
It's not even,
You don't see so much interaction of these characters, why are they not so different, or fighting together, and, it's just so throwaway of these, let's unite under the same force, a lot, what? It's not memorable. It is not memorable. And oh my god, Chase was so serious.
Oh yeah, we were watching this and we're just Chase was just deadpan the entire time.
He is so serious. That's what made him, what not only made him, a serious threat because he was a serious character, but it also made Chase in a way, it also worked as a humorous way because there's these goofy moments around Chase and he's still so serious in these goofy scenarios. It was funny seeing, it's always funny seeing a serious character.
They're sitting on top of Old Faithful, and then
everybody's like all like,
oh, and they're taking pictures,
like
and he's
you're
just like
over there. He's like, hey, look, I caught me a fish, and they're like all mangled, and they're like all happy, and Chase is just there like,
and we were bursting out laughing over this.
It was oh my gosh, but yeah, it took. And they developed that relationship too.
And the relationship between Omi and Chase in this has been developed on from previous episodes.
Well, or even like they actually established the whole why Jack was such a fanboy of Chase. Like he's my my hero. Like Chronicles expects you to know that automatically. Why would new fans know this?
No one knows any about.
And they build up the bickering relationship between Jack and Wuya, which Chronicles sometimes kind of delves into it. But there's the Jack and Wuya are so unimportant in that series that it's like, what's the point?
It's like
and the relationship between the monks in the first episode, even though you don't see as much of Clay and Raimundo, you still can understand the basic archetype of these characters, and you can see them influence.
So sarcastic.
You can see them influence Omi, because they Omi beats Jack in a showdown because each something that those three taught him, in one episode, the first episode, it set up these characters at least, introducing them and showing some basic influences they can have on each other, basic interaction. The Chronicles, the first 3 episodes. I still don't wonder what's the point of Raimundo and Clay. They still have not much of a personality. The only ones that have a personality are Ping Pong, Kimiko, and Omi. And even then, Ping Pong's attitude is so fanficky.
And it changes depending on depending on the episode. Like, is he good? Is he pure? Is he stupid? Is he egotistical? Is he?
He's not. Well, he's never quite been egotistical, but it's like even he was mean to Dojo, even though he's this pure soul, who loves to help people constantly. It just, everything. Like I said, everything feels so hollow. These relationships feel so hollow.
Put a mask on it because it's hollow.
It's oh my gosh! It just. I think the most of an actual personality between relationships I've ever seen was maybe that one moment with Omi and Kimiko, and and maybe one moment with Omi and Ping Pong, and Jack and Wuya, even though you don't see enough of them, and there's literally no point to them being there.
Yeah,
it's like everything else is just so boring.
And it's and also one thing is that
confusing or hollow or just there's just no point to it, no purpose.
And one thing we were watching in My Homie Omi of when Jack was using technology, using his radar or something to scan for the
Wuya was impressed, but she's only impressed when it's in their favor. Whenever things fall on his face, then she's not impressed and will insult him.
And she's not going, "Oh, you're stupid" all the time.
Or she's not always "Oh wow, this technology is so fascinating" and da 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 da. Or those random episodes where she suddenly cares about gold.
Yeah, it's Wuya is
treasure hunting or Jack making money off of that stupid scam with
to get that big monster truck thing. It's
why would she care?
She doesn't care about material possession. She cares about the Shengang Wu. She cares about
taking over the world. Or how she keeps phasing through him and he's just that's not that tickle. She only occasionally did that to Jack, purposely to annoy him because it made him uncomfortable. And that was funny. Constantly doing it over and over again to tickle. If it's not funny the first time, it's not going to be funny the next 12 times. I think the only time I ever laughed at her phasing through things was whenever they were watching Shadow and Chase's interaction, and they were both Jack was all creeped out, and she was like, "Ooh, they communicate by hissing. Fascinating." And she starts chasing after Jack, hissing at him, and Jack's like, "Leave me alone." And then he runs into that that toy. That was one of the few things we actually liked, was that stupid toilet thing.
Yes, the $6 million toilet. That was amazing.
That's how low we have fallen here in terms of humor. A toilet is the most hilarious thing. It's and Wuya chasing Jack into a bathroom
and invading his privacy.
That's how low we have sunk, guys. Showdown has so much creativity, and I forever respect Christy Wee for it, and for her fellow writers.
And it's funny because if you notice in the credits for Xiaolin Showdown, it says created and produced by Christy Wee.
And a lot of the episodes written. So people were like, "I don't want to be immune to Christy Wee," I don't know. A part of me just says there is no way someone this creative who has been so much because with Avatar, obviously
there were dozens of writers on that.
Dozens of writers, and most of the time
there were several producers who were in charge of.
And that wasn't Mike or Brian.
Yeah.
It's like especially in season 2 and on. It's like for the majority part, they weren't always in charge, even if it's their story. It's basically their blueprint, and these other guys
made it
turn it into something. It's like with Showdown, you can tell she is heavily involved with it. I'm like, how can somebody who's so creative
and then end up with Chronicles
possibly write all this? She had to be on drugs. I like the only way I'm ever going to believe you if you say Christy, who we ever wrote, actually physically was behind all this stuff in Showdown and the pacing and everything, is if she was on drugs.
And I kind of feel like she had as much. Okay, we're about to bleep out, but it's like I feel like she had as much influence as Tim Hedrick and Josh Hamilton did in Book 2 of Korra, and you just feel like this is just so stupid.
There's no way, because she had executive meddling get in the way of her before. Who's to say it's not even more now?
This seems more pronounced than ever.
There's no way. This whole hollow, completely purposeless, no point, messy, sloppy, does not care. There is no way. Right. I will forever respect her, but I will never respect Chronicles.
All right.
You can like it, that's fine.
Everyone can like whatever they want.
You like whatever you want. But please, please stop saying people who hate it are just people with nostalgia goggles.
Because the people who love it are oftentimes, I find, the ones with nostalgia goggles, because they love Showdown so much that they can't see Chronicles as anything.
Like for any other faults, it's okay. I like stupid things too, and admit their faults.
We defended Legend of Korra Book 1 until we were just like,
stupid. I like the Transformers movies and Star Wars prequels. I understand liking stupid things. I can admit they have faults, but you can still love them, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you.
You just gotta be able to admit there are faults.
We're not attacking you. We're never gonna be attacking you.
We're just attacking Chronicles because it's bad.
We hate the show. Hating the show doesn't mean we hate you. Okay?
Yeah.
That's where we, the anti-crowd, are coming from. The series is a huge disappointment to us.
Major.
We feel like it failed us.
Yes. And that's what it is.
And it failed to be a reboot. It failed to be
a sequel.
It failed to be its own thing. It failed to bring back old audiences, new audiences, because everybody is so divided on it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're basically trying to say. I'm sorry that this whole vlog is kind of not that organized, but
it's more organized than our last one, so.
But the show is so messy, so it's really hard to know where to start, where to pick apart.
And she's crazy. She's ADD.
Oh, I'm so crazy. But oh man, I couldn't crush my sunglasses anymore, so I had to crush